Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Kindland Report. I'm your host, Leon Bibb. Well, since its inception in 2020, the Kindland Initiative has been promoting and encouraging acts of kindness throughout our community, and well beyond, I should add. The overwhelming response from businesses, government, and individuals has prompted us to begin a dialogue with luminaries, locally and nationally, to discover how kindness guides them. Well, today our special guest is Cleveland Mayor-elect Justin Bibb. Good to have you with us, Mr. Mayor-elect Justin Bibb. How you doing today?
Doing well, Leon. How are you?
I'm just fine.
Good.
I'm just fine. And as a disclaimer, I will tell the audience right off the bat that yes, Bibb and Bibb, we are cousins. Good to see you, Mr. Bibb.
Good to see you as well, Mr. Bibb. I've always wanted to do that, by the way.
So have I. And it's so good. And it's so good to see you too here, Justin. It really is. You graduated from Case Western Reserve University with an MBA and a law degree in 2018. You've worked in the private sector for about 3 years or so, and then you ran for mayor and became the city's mayor, the city of Cleveland. I would think that any aspiring politician would want to know, what's the secret? How do you do that?
Well, I would say every successful campaign is rooted in truly being intentional about listening and talking to voters. We were very aggressive, really at the height of this pandemic, and meeting voters where they were. We did meet and greets all across this city. At the end of the primary, we had almost 100 people showing up to our meet and greets. And I think throughout this campaign, there was just a hunger and desire for bold, new, dynamic, visionary leadership, and our movement for change spoke to that.
In this series of interviews that we plan here, we'll want to ask people about values, where you get your values from. Talk about values and kindness in general.
Well, Leon, you know from our family that public service and servant leadership is in our DNA. My father was a Vietnam War vet, was a diver in the Navy. He was also one of the first Black firemen and cops in Cleveland Heights and did both jobs for nearly 30 plus years. My mom is a social worker. She's been fighting for seniors all across this city. And so servant leadership and public service is a value that was really rooted in my upbringing as a kid growing up on the Southeast side. I would also say, as we claw our way out of this pandemic and really reflect on where the world is coming after 2020, after the tragic murder of George Floyd, that the values of racial equity and social justice are more important than ever. And I think in Cleveland, we have a unique opportunity to make that promise real in our city once again for everybody.
You're entering the world of politics, which at times can be a fist fight.
Yeah.
To say the least. Can you bring that kindness in and resolve conflict without the fist fight?
It's hard. I experienced this really pointedly throughout the campaign. When it got dirty there were a lot of negative campaign attacks against our candidacy. But we stood on a higher ground. As Michelle Obama said, when they go low, we go high.
I know you're very much interested in education. Yeah. You played a part on Cuyahoga Community College. You were a member of the Board of Trustees for a few years. Values in Action has been teaching students values in Cleveland schools for more than a quarter of a century. What is your feeling about the importance of social and emotional learning for students?
It's everything. If you're showing up hungry, it's going to be hard to pay attention in school. If you're showing up to school having experienced a traumatic event like losing a loved one to gun violence, it's going to be hard to show up and be engaged in school. So that's why I believe mindfulness programs inside of our schools are so important. Making sure that we're meeting the whole needs of our children is critical to give them the confidence they need to live up to their God-given potential.
Let's talk a little bit about public safety. Yeah. Police are out there every day. We're dealing with crime on the streets. Mm-hmm. How do you turn that around as mayor? Everybody's going to say the buck stops here, and they're going to be pointing at your desk. Yeah.
As I said before, trust. We need to instill trust between police and residents to give our residents the confidence that when they call the police will show up on time, but also respect their constitutional rights. That's why I fully believe in a fourth option for 911 around mental health and trauma. That's why we intend to invest in a co-responder model of policing where social workers and mental health professionals join first responders for nonviolent 911 calls. But the biggest thing we can do to fix violent crime is to make sure that every neighborhood in the city, from Mount Pleasant to West Park, has true economic opportunity.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you.
For Justin Bibb, the real work of being mayor actually begins even before he goes into Cleveland City Hall. Using the values that he learned, certainly growing up as a child and as a young man, he will keep foremost in mind, said Mayor-elect Justin Bibb, hard work and fairness and attention to detail. It's going to be a lot of work in front of him. He says he will work hard and he will keep that fair hand in mind as he goes about the business of being the mayor of the city of Cleveland. Well, that's going to do it for us. Until next time, I'm Leon Bibb with the Kindland Report.